What's going on, Shopbox Universe? How you doing? It's Peter Karunas here with another video, and in this video we're going to be talking about should you copy your competitors. That's the topic of today's video. Definitely want to check this one out, so stay tuned. Alright, so you're thinking about getting into the sign business, or you've been in the sign business for a little bit of time now, you're in the print business for a little bit of time now, you're in a fabrication business now for a little bit of time now, and you are examining your prices. The end of the year is coming. You know, we're 2+ months away from the end of the year now. At the time of making this video, it's like mid-October. And you know, this is a great time for business owners to kind of look at everything through many different types of lenses, right? You're going to look at your pricing, you're going to look at your processes, you're going to look at your marketing, you're going to look at, you know, pretty much everything, including, don't forget this one, branding. This is usually a time where businesses tend to look at like their businesses on a whole 360-degree lens. So we'll start with the pricing. Should you copy your competitors' pricing? The short answer is maybe, right? I mean, maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't. Copying your competitors' pricing is a great way of getting started in the business. If you do your feasibility study and you can copy their pricing, you're pretty much like cheating on that Regents exam, right? Somebody's already done the legwork. So if they're doing well, let's do what they do, and let's not beat around the bush. Let's not beat a dead horse here. Let's just do what works. Well, copying your competitors is a great thing when it comes to, you know, saving time, not reinventing the wheel. I think those are really good pieces to kind of examine and say, you know, if they're doing it right, why change it? The problem with that is it leaves out innovation. It leaves out some ability to really think through your process and examine your business in a way that will, you know, end up teaching you things. So I think that's important to kind of look at through one lens here when it comes to pricing, is that when you don't copy your competitors' pricing, it leaves you as the only answer. So how are you going to come up with your own pricing? What formulas can you use? What spreadsheets can you use? What pricing formulas can you create inside of Shopbox that can help you and your team navigate pricing in a way that's going to be a little bit more efficient for your business? Should you copy your competitors' process? One of the elements that's really hard to copy is your competitors' process, because it's really hard to kind of like take a magnifying glass and go into their building and look at their process. So how do you do that? Well, a lot of that can be done from, you know, hiring existing employees of your competitors and learning what they did and how you're doing things and what the different makers are and how to propel your business forward by looking at those weak points in your process. Potentially, you know, learning how a company or a franchise runs that model is not entirely it's not entirely wrong to duplicate it. In fact, it's probably flattering for them if you are going to duplicate it. And again, it goes back to, if it's not broke, don't fix it. There are shops that have their production processes illustrated on a digital screen, you know, a wide format LCD screen that's hung on their wall. There are some shops that believe in jackets and invoices on a wall, hanging on a wall. I mean, that's a different process, right? What is your process going to look like after you've had a chance to examine what you've done over the past year? And how can you really look at the upcoming year as a way to kind of make that change and start things fresh, new, invigorating, get your team motivated around it? And that's actually a really good thought there, is rally your team. Rallying your team will allow you to get some ideas from their perspective. They play a role in your shop, right? So what is it that you can do for them that's going to make their lives a little bit more simpler, but with the idea behind it being more efficient? I think that's the overall goal there, is when you sit down with your staff and you want to talk about how do we look at our process and perfect it, you know, let's talk about efficiency at the top of that list. Being efficient, Keeping up communication, probably at the principal top of that list would be communication. And, that's something that you might want to examine. But don't forget to bring to the table, this is how other shops are doing things. Should we copy it? Should we not? Right? Let's bring that back to the principal point of that question is, should you copy your competitor's process? Branding. Let's talk a little bit about branding. Should you copy your competitor's branding? No. Don't do that. No. Don't ever do that. Now, there are certain pieces that you should look at with your branding. Is it up to today's design standards? Should you introduce a new elements, new design flair to your branding that's going to captivate and capture an audience that it hasn't before? When I was a CEO of my sign franchise, I went through a very difficult time with just looking at my brand and saying, am I satisfied with it? Should I go really simple with it, keep the font simple, keep the design elements simple, or should I really just go full-fledged, full color, full digital, kind of like with a RANT page design of showing everything that we do by illustration, or should I keep it really simple? For those of you that have been in this business, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because you're going to have those logos, those branding elements that are really just going to be too complex, but they look great. But maybe you should go more that simple route, like a franchised brand would be. That's simple, clean, easy to understand, easy to focus on, really good color scheme, really good font scheme, really good overall brand guidelines there. That might be where you might want to start, is create yourself a formidable branding guidebook for your business. Which fonts you're going to use, which photos you're going to use, which version of your logos to use, how not to use the logo. This is what your shirts are going to look like. This is what our sales collateral is going to look like. This is what your vehicle wraps should look like. And then make sure it's uniform. If you're a sign shop out there that does not have uniform branding, then this is definitely something that you're going to want to focus on as the new year approaches, is how do we kind of button that up? How do we clean that up? You're going to want to make a captivating brand scheme here for your business. Something that's similar, in fact, across all spectrums of your product offerings, whether it's print, digital, signage, t-shirts, apparel, vehicle. You want to make sure it all matches. So make sure that you're definitely that shop that's using the same font scheme across all elements, the same colors across all elements, and the same usage of your logo across all elements. In this video, there's not going to be a lot that I would say that you would really want to copy your competition with. But one thing here I certainly would pay a lot of attention to, and that's just overall what your competition is doing. This is something that most companies don't do enough of. In fact, what's going to be your edge? What's going to be your principal point of why a customer should choose you over your competition? This is something that you really need to dive deep on. So if your competitor is got a brand new piece of equipment, that doesn't mean that you need to get that piece of equipment. What you need to understand is why they bought that piece of equipment. If they bought a flatbed printer and you don't have one, and that means that they're in a market that you're not. That's all that means. And why are you not in that market? That's the question that you should be asking. If they bought a brand new CNC machine and you already have one, then they're just looking for an equipment upgrade, that can be understandable, and that's something that you might even want to look at yourself. But if they're getting into a different type of piece of equipment, 3D printing, laser engraving and etching, other types of woodworking machines, and because they're getting into other markets, that might be the biggest question that you should ask, is should that be a market that you should be getting into? And that should be a question that you should be asking yourself when it comes time to discovering whether or not you should look at your process, look at the way you're doing things, and whether or not you should copy your competition or not. All right, guys, that's it for me in this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Peter Karunas with Shopbox. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. If you are not a subscriber, please like and subscribe right now. We'll wait. Thank you so much for watching, and like always, everybody, stay positive out there.